Hi everyone, my name's Jess and I'm a psychologist at Prosper Health Collective. And today I wanted to talk to you about that nagging voice in your head, the one that tells you that you're not good enough or you're going to mess things up. That voice is your inner critic, and this video today is actually to break down how we might notice that voice, its function, but also some new ways that we can respond to the inner critic to really build self-compassion and kindness. So what is the inner critic? Well, it's an internal voice that critiques your thoughts, actions, and self-worth. It often develops quite early in life and in response to things like really harsh criticism or rejection. But it can also arise in trauma survivors, particularly if they hold misplaced guilt or shame following what has happened to them. So it might sound strange, but the core of the inner critic is actually that it has a protective function. So it tries to shield you from failure or rejection by pushing you to be better, avoid any possible mistake, and really to stay small and unnoticed to help keep you safe. So think of it as, an overprotective part of you that is actually very afraid and is trying to help, but by doing so kind of takes things too far. So you can get really good at spotting your inner critic by noticing the type of language that it uses. It really thrives on absolute language, so words like always and never. But it also tends to catastrophize a lot. So things like, no one will ever love me, or everything is terrible. In terms of, the toll that this voice can have on us when it gets particularly loud and unruly, as you can imagine, it really erodes self-esteem and can lead to lots of different mental health issues. It also gets you stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage where risks are avoided to keep you very, very safe. But in doing so, you actually miss out on opportunities for growth, happiness, or even a chance to really test out some of these very pessimistic and anxious predictions that the inner critic is throwing at you. So how might we respond? There's a few strategies which I hope will be quite simple. The first one, it might sound a little bit counterproductive, but actually thanking your inner critic can acknowledge its protective function, but also help put a few boundaries around it. So for example, in response to a thought like, everyone's going to laugh at you, you might say something like, thanks for looking out for me, but I've actually got this. You might also try naming the story. So this is where we practice, noticing the themes that might show up in our thoughts and actually categorizing and naming them so that we can spot them a little bit easier when they pop up in future. So probably my favorite example of this one would be, that's the I'm not good enough story again. So doing this actually helps put a bit of distance between you and that thought, but also gives you some perspective. So hopefully reducing how tangled up or consumed by the thoughts of the inner critic you actually are. We can also try just pausing and reflecting. So noticing, how helpful is that thought for me right now? How true is it? And are there any, other perspectives to keep in mind that might be helpful right now? And lastly, we can try talking back with kindness. So replacing thoughts like I'm a failure with I'm learning, I'm going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. So by doing this, we actually speak to ourselves with the same level of kindness and compassion that we show to other people. Because often we'll notice that we would never speak to someone else we care about in the same harsh and very judgmental tones that we might speak to ourselves. So these techniques are helpful because self-compassion is actually not self-indulgence, and it's a type of resilience. So it adds, I guess, balance to our thinking so we can think more flexibly and not just jump to worst case scenarios or continue to hold ourselves to really unrealistic and unrelenting standards. So please remember that your inner critic doesn't have to run the show and completely dominate you. With consistent practice, anyone can learn these techniques and really adopt them into their day-to-day practice when the inner critic pops up. So please also remember that the team at Prosper Health Collective is here to support you with managing your inner critic, learning and practicing the techniques discussed in the video today, but also with any other support we can offer with regards to your mental health and well-being. Thank you for your time in listening to this video. I really hope that it served as a reminder to show yourself the same compassion and kindness that you no doubt show to others in your life. Thank you.